Hello everyone, Rick from PWZ here. Today we have author Vinny Berry on the show. Vinny last appeared on PWZ to talk his first book, Lance by Chance, the story of Lance Von Erich. He also runs Wrestleville.com, which features many cool stories and articles as well as interviews. Vinny also runs the Wrestleville podcast available on Spotify as well as lancebychance.com. In this episode, we are discussing Vinny's new book, The Pro Wrestling Vault Volume 1, which features 35 short stories including former NWA World Champions Tim Storm, Harleyrace, and the Colorado Kid Mike Rapada, as well as former NWA World Junior Champions Eric Andrews, Mr. USA, Chase Owens, Ricky Morton, Barrett Brown. Other wrestlers featured include Vordell Walker, Greg Anthony, Damien Wayne, Bobby Fulton, Tracy Smothers, Bill Dundee, Shawn Hernandez, Bushwacker Luke, C.W. Anderson, and Sir Mo. Plus, over 400 photos of the Gulf Coast wrestling region. Not to mention, this makes a great Christmas gift. Go to Wrestleville.com to order your book today.
The Pro Wrestling Vault. 35 short stories including Harley Race, Ricky Morton, Tracy Smothers, and Tim Storm, along with 300 photos from the independent scene, taken from Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Get your book today by going to Wrestleville.com or LanceByChance.com. Wrestleville, it's where wrestling lives.
Are you a fan of horror movies?
Necronomicon Ex Mortis, the Book of the Dead.
What about cult classics?
Your move, creep.
If you are, you'll love Shocking Things. Please search for us on all the major podcasting platforms. To see our social media and a direct link to our podcast, please go to anchor.fm/shockingthings.
All right, today, everybody, we have Vinny Berry from the Wrestleville.com. And today, you have a new book coming out. It's called The Pro Wrestling Vault Volume 1, and it contains 35 short stories, and including stories of 3 NWA World Champions, 5 NWA Junior Heavyweight Champions, and just a whole bunch of information with some really great photos in this book. How's it going, Vinny?
It's going good, and I'm excited for the release of the book. Thank you for having me on.
It's been a while since we spoke pretty frequently, but, the last time I had you on is when you did your Lance Von Erich book. Before we get into the Pro Wrestling Vault, how's that book going?
The book is going good. It's on Amazon now, and I'm selling books out of the country. I've, done really well with it. I made my investment back, and it's getting a lot of really good reviews. People are very, very happy with the book. They like the stories that Lance tells. They're surprised about how the story really did turn out. Because a lot of people for years just thought one thing about that story and thought that he quit wrestling after, he was pretty much exposed of who he really was, not being a Von Erich. And, the story continued, and it went on. His wrestling career went on for a total of 10 years, and he wrestled in other countries and did pretty well. And so I was really pleased with how that book went.
I enjoyed it tremendously. I really, really enjoyed it. I saw High Spots had it for one of their virtual sales as well. So that's one of my favorite sites to buy merchandise off of. Collectibles. So let's get into the Pro Wrestling Vault. How did you come about this book? Like, what gave you the idea to come up with this book with the short stories and such?
Well, I always wanted to do a book with short stories. I didn't know it was going to be wrestling. When I started on my next project after the Lance Von Erich book, Lance by Chance, I reached out to about 5 or 6 promotions across the United States. One was in Colorado, I believe. There's one in Texas, California, one in New England, and one in Florida. I think there was one other, but I reached out like all across the country. And my first thought was I wanted to do a book on these 5 or 6 promotions that were affected by COVID. And I wanted to kind of tell their story. And one promotion like did some interviews with me. One promotion gave me, but no pictures. But then one promotion gave me some pictures, but no interview. And the other promotions weren't really interested and or didn't seem to be. And so I was talking to my friend John Paul LeBlanc, who is a professional wrestling photographer in the Gulf Coast region of the United States. He's from New Orleans, and I was telling him what I wanted to do, and he tried to help me, but he said, why don't you take that story idea down here into the Gulf Coast? Because he knew of some promotions that he thought would like to work on that project. And what turned out to, it totally turned into, within a week or two, we just started taking his pictures and my stories and just putting them together, and that's why it's called the Pro Wrestling Vault, because you never really know what's going to be in that thing until you open it up, and there is a wide range of information and pictures and material in it.
3 former NWA World Champions were written about in this book. Tim Storm, Harley Race, and Mike Rapada. Mike Rapada is probably, he doesn't get the recognition and for the time period that he was the Colorado Kid. I guess it was that the earlier 2000s he was an NWA champion.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. I didn't get to I'm still breezing through the book, trying to get some information here, and so you interviewed have you interviewed some of these wrestlers yourself for this book, like Rapada?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I interviewed all of them.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Absolutely. Those are my interviews, and those are my stories, and all the guys were really good about participating in the project. At the time I was writing the stories, I put them on my website, and I don't get a lot of traffic on my website. Hopefully after this I will, but I had these stories, and like I said, John came along, had all these pictures, and so we had this material, and we thought that we wanted to put it out for a different market. There's people who like reading books, and there's people who like Kindle books, and there's people that like visiting websites, and there's people that like listening to podcasts. And so, we just thought that we take this material and we just kind of put it in a different direction. And that's how we came up with the book.
It's kind of awesome, because sometimes you think, especially guys our age, we're around the same age, that books are kind of like a dying thing, it seems. And people, like you say, are going to the Kindle or even the Audibles and such things. And it's so cool to, whenever somebody puts out like a new album or a new book, you get to hold it in your hand. You know what I mean? So it's a pretty cool thing.
Absolutely. I think there's something personal about that, about kicking back and picking that book up, or holding that vinyl and, looking at the album cover as you're listening to the music. I mean, it's kind of special, and this book, I think, what I like about this book is that not only will it share stories of wrestlers such as Harley Race, Tracy Smothers, Larry Henning, Damien Wayne. He's been in the business for a long time, strong on the independent scene. Bill Dundee, but it's got a lot of up and coming people too. People that you may not know, may not be familiar with. Drop Dead Dale Wild, Josh Lewis, Shea Summers, and very interesting stories, very interesting personalities. And one of my friends up in Connecticut was reading the book, and he said after he read it that he was online searching for the people that he didn't know, the people that he was discovering through the book. So that was the whole purpose of, why I started writing about wrestling in the first place was, to give these people who are grinding it out on the independent scene, some exposure and a platform, because, we all know who's on TV, right? But there's people who've been wrestling for years and years, Vordell Walker, Greg Anthony, Damien Wayne, Tim Storm. Of course, he finally pretty much made it, what I would call mainstream, but, it took him forever to do it. So,
he was, sorry, go ahead. He was probably in his 50s when he made it to that level, you know what I mean? And set to,
right.
And set to hang it up in a way. I mean, he's still sort of into active, but, now he's doing commentary for the NWA. So.
Yeah. And he's still doing some matches, but it's not, his schedule is not like what it was, but what a performer, right? And what a class act.
Yes, absolutely. Super nice dude. I talked to him a couple times online. Always just very friendly, So, and let's go through some of the names that you have here. I mean, you have Ricky Morton in the book. You have Bobby Fulton, Tracy Smothers, who recently passed, was it last year? And that he was a legend. Like some of these guys featured in this book are legends, and like you said, some of them were just guys that have been out there grinding it on the independent scene. And it's so cool to see stuff like that. My personal opinion, because I always love learning about wrestling that I hadn't known about from other portions of the country. I'm a New England guy. I'm from Connecticut, so it's just a really cool book to open up so much information like that. There's the well-known names, and then there's the other, and then there's other names that I might not have heard of, or other people might not have heard of that you've written about. So it's going to be a really cool book for somebody to dig into.
Absolutely. And also, too, special treat, if you order the book off my website at lancebychance.com, every single book comes with a signed autograph by one of was about 12 or 13 different individuals. So they're randomly selected. It's a surprise autograph, but some of the names that are available are Bobby Fulton, Tim Storm, C.W. Anderson. We've got Mr. USA in there. We have Chris Michaels. And, like I said, there's about 13 individuals in there. And I think that's really neat. I think it's really special.
I know who I got, and I was very excited when I opened up the book and saw who I got. I got Tim Storm. You made my day, Vinny.
Oh.
So we're what else do you want to tell me about this book? And then before we give out the contact information and where to purchase.
Sure. Like I said, I think this book is, it's a little piece of all these people, right? It's, so many autobiographies have come out over the past, I don't know, 5 to 10 years. And a lot of them. And, I just got done doing the Lance Von Erich autobiography. I know what it entails. I know what it takes to do a book like that. I like this book because it's a little piece of everybody. It's like the who's who, right? I mean, there's Thermo is in this book, Shawn Hernandez, TNA star, AAA star, you know. Barrett Brown is in this book, you know, and Greg Anthony, and, you know, harleyrace, Bushwacker Luke. And I think what people will find out is like just little stories, whatever, you know. It's basically the conversation we had on the phone, you know. harleyrace told me that, you know, he went to his first match when he was a teenager and wanted to go to training so bad that he punched his principal in the face and he got suspended. And so he went to his parents, was like, well, I don't have to go to school. Can I go train wrestling? And, you know, that's basically how it worked out for him. And so he shared that story with me. That's in the book. And, you know, Ricky Morton talks about his school. Shawn Hernandez talks about how, you know, he wanted to wrestle, but he never really wanted to wrestle like in the WWE. You know, he didn't want a schedule like that. He wanted to be able to make a living and have some family time. So, you know, he basically turned into an international wrestler where he'd go out of the country, wrestle for a certain period of time, come home for a certain period of time, and then go back out. But it wasn't this nonstop schedule that just never ended, right? It had an end to it. And, you know, he was able to adjust his life where he could balance his family and his professional life. And I thought that was cool. You know, Sir Mo talks about how he met Nelson, you know, Mabel, you know, and how Mabel was a troubled youth, and how he promised his dad that, you know, hey, I'll keep an eye on him, you know, I'll help him out, you know. Sir Mo was training at a school in North Carolina, and then Mabel, of course, his name was Nelson at the time, but he came down and was looking for a wrestling school too, and that's where Sir Mo met his dad. Well, that meeting of him kind of mentoring Nelson and you know, helping him, and they became a successful tag team together. Well, you know, that spurred a mission in Sir Mo to help troubled youth, to reach out to people who were struggling in life, you know, and he wants to help people, and he wants to get people on a straight path and help people who are struggling in life. And, you know, that's his life's mission, you know, and he wants to help 1 million people. If that's by, you know, him helping 3 and those 3 helping 3 more and those 3 helping 3 more. And, you know, so, you know, that story shared. And I think what people are going to take away from this book is, like I said, a little piece of everybody. And it's an easy read, and it's so much information. And I just think that not only are the stories neat, but there's 400 pictures in this book.
Oh, yeah. There's some really good ones in here. Yeah.
Yeah, John Paul is an amazing photographer, and so you'll see some really cool shots in this. And, you know, again, there's a bunch of different people in there that you'll recognize, you know, and so that's what I think is neat. You know, this is almost like a one-stop shop. You know, you get your wrestling fix because there's so much different stuff in here. And I think that's what people are telling me they like so much about it.
One of the things that I think is very cool in here, and it's going to bring up names that I wouldn't say forgot about, but it kind of got me to remember names that, you know, I had not seen in a number of years, such as Chaz Taylor, and what's the other one here? Chase Owens, and there was another name. Oh, James Beard is featured in the book as well. Then he did a special article on remembering Tugboat Taylor, from who was kind of a name in the Texas area, I guess in the 80s, right? And around that time period?
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. 80s and early 90s.
Yeah. I remember him from watching him on World Class when I was a kid.
And on Global as well.
Yeah.
And from Houston as well.
Yep. What drove you to write this piece on Tugboat Taylor?
I had met Tugboat, and I met Chaz at a couple of shows down here in Brownsville. And every time Chaz kind of makes you feel like you already know him. The first time I met Chaz, I kind of felt like I already knew Chaz, like I already met him before, but I never did. And he was a real personable guy. He introduced me to his dad. I met his dad. I took some pictures for them and gave him some pictures. And when I started the website, I reached out to Chaz, and because we had always kind of kept in touch, and I'd send him some pictures that I took of his match and stuff like that. So we stayed in contact, and he was one of the first guys I reached out to do a story on. And then when I check on him and ask him how his dad was doing, he'd give me updates on how his dad was. And then one day I checked on him, and he told me that his dad just passed away. And, I wanted to just kind of do a little memorial piece on him and just, just kind of do something for him,
Also on that piece that I found very interesting in here was someone that doesn't always get a positive outlook in his professional wrestling career, his former NWA owner, Bruce Tharp. How did that one come about?
Again, I reached out to him. It was right after the selling of the NWA to Billy Corgan. I had met Bruce also too at a Brownsville show. I don't know if he remembered me or not, but I did remind him that I met him at a show and reached out and gave him my link and told him what I wanted to do, and he was really up for it. And he is very gracious. He gave me some time. He gave me a great interview. He's a very intelligent guy, very smart. I liked what he did with the NWA when he had it, and I think he set up a lot of really good things for the next owner. I think that Bruce Tharp, and Billy Corgan both have this idea that they want to make the NWA better than it's ever been. Right. And I think if you watch the NWA product today, I think you're going to see that. I think, wow, this is a big difference from 10 years ago. This is a big difference from 20 years ago when Mike Rapada was world champion, when people didn't even think it existed anymore.
I sure enjoy the product today. Yeah, I sure enjoy the NWA today. I think Billy's doing a really good job at running it, and so tell us, the book is coming out when?
The book is coming out today.
Today. Oh, great. And where can we go to buy it?
You can get the book at lancebychance.com. And that is where it is. If you're on the Wrestleville.com site, there is a link that you can click on. It'll take you to where the store is at lancebychance.com. You can purchase the book there. And, we'd definitely, I really believe that people are going to enjoy this book. I enjoyed putting this thing together, and I was talking to somebody earlier. What he liked about the book was that the book kind of segues. It's like you've got these 35 stories of these different people, but Barrett Brown talks about the junior heavyweight title, and that Eric Andrews has, and Eric Andrews talks about his challengers, and then Mr. USA wins the title, and and it just goes on, and then Barrett Brown wins the world title from Mr. USA, and it's just these stories that connect with each other, and just throughout the course of the book, you kind of see how things tie in and how all these people are connected, and not everybody in the book is connected like that, but you'll see people who've worked together, who've helped each other, or it's just kind of neat in that regard.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And not to mention that you have the Wrestleville website, which is kind of a, I guess, tie-in with this book as well, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
There's lots of really good stories on the website. Lots of really good stories, and you have a podcast on the website too. That's pretty enjoyable with interviews with some of the guys that are actually in this book, and guys that are not in the book.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I've got Tokyo Monster Haggis on that podcast. I have Just Incredible on there. I have Thunder Rosa on there. I've got some guys from the Midwest coming on the podcast soon. I have an interview with Tim Storm coming out here pretty soon, and Maddie Rinkowski. And so I've got some really good stuff coming to the website on the podcast. So, I think, you can always find something in there that's going to interest you. And my whole idea is to, get people exposure, get people in the business exposure, and get their stories out, That's
right. All right, Vinny, is there anything that you want to add to the story today?
No, I just thank you very much for having me on the show. I want to thank everybody who purchased Lance by Chance. It was a success, and I got a lot of great reviews off that. People were very kind. People reached out, and they wrote reviews on Amazon. They wrote reviews on Goodreads. They sent me emails, and a lot of people were just really gracious and pleased with that story. And so, for that being my first book, that made me feel good that, it was well received. And this book is very, very different. It is not an autobiography. I mean, the stories are from the people who I wrote, but this is, 35 short stories and 400 pictures. And so this is a book that you could pick up and, take the bus to work and read 2 or 3 stories and stop, or, on your lunch break, read a couple stories and stop and, come back to it, and you can just pick the book up and go anywhere in the book, and, you're not going to be lost in any way because, it all has a starting point and ending point.
That's very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah. I'm assuming this one's titled Volume 1, that you have in your thoughts, at least a Volume 2.
It's more than in the brain. It's already in the works. It's probably, I would say, maybe 40 or 50% finished.
Oh, wow.
I'm planning to have it come out this year. I've got some stories to write for it, and I've got to put the picture formats, but we've already started on the layouts, and we're already working on that. Absolutely.
Wow, I love to hear that, because I'm like I said, I think that this is a very cool book, and Volume 2 would just, I can't wait to see that now too. All right.
Me neither.
Where could people find you on social media outside of obviously it's Wrestleville.com, correct, and LanceByChance.com, but you have social media that you want people to check out?
Yeah, I'm Vinny Berry on Twitter. I'm also Vincent Berry on Facebook, and you can reach out to me on there, send me a message, or and I reply. You can email me at RussellvilleUSA@gmail.com, and that's RussellvilleUSA, one word, @gmail.com, or Vinny@Russellville@gmail.com. That might be easier. But yeah, reach out to me. You have any questions? You want to hear any interviews on the podcast? Anybody you'd like me to reach out to? And if you, like I said, if you want to get the book, it's at lancebychance.com, and we'll have each book is going to be signed by a surprised. It's going to have a surprise autograph in it from one of the. It's about half one about 14 or 15 guys that were featured in the book, and those will be available as supplies last.
And they make great Christmas gifts as well, and that's coming up in just a few weeks, so you might want to jump on the website and get that.
Absolutely. How cool would it be to open your gift and have it signed by, Mr. USA or C.W. Anderson, Bobby Fulton, Tim Storm, Dale Wild, one of these guys that have been making memories in the ring, it'd be really cool.
Absolutely. Vinny, I want to thank you.
Thank you.